The ballroom of Manhattan's prestigious St. Regis Hotel shimmered with an almost otherworldly glow. Crystal chandeliers, grand in size and intricate in design, hung like jeweled crowns from the vaulted ceiling. Their golden light cascaded over polished marble floors, catching on the edges of champagne flutes and the diamonds that adorned the guests. Every corner of the room radiated opulence, from the towering floral arrangements of rare orchids and lilies to the waitstaff in perfectly pressed uniforms, silently weaving through the crowd with trays of hors d'oeuvres. This was no ordinary evening. It was the annual charity auction to benefit homeless children across the United States. Yet, as noble as the cause was, for many of the guests, this event had become something else entirely. It was a social battleground, a showcase of power, influence, and, above all, wealth. The auction catalog featured items that were as much symbols of exclusivity as they were donations: antique sculptures, custom couture, private yacht tours, and even rare paintings by masters like Monet and Van Gogh. Every item carried an implied message. If you could afford to bid, you belonged. Among the glittering crowd of New York's elite stood Keanu Reeves. He was positioned near the back of the room, a silent observer. His presence was almost an enigma. While others flaunted designer suits, Keanu wore a simple black blazer, a gray t-shirt, and jeans that, while clean and presentable, would have seemed out of place in this sea of perfection. Yet there he was, standing tall, his posture relaxed but dignified. For those who noticed him, his simplicity was jarring. At the center of the room, a table of socialites exchanged whispers and sidelong glances. Their leader, Sophia Langford, a striking woman known for her sharp tongue and impeccable fashion sense, took particular interest in Keanu. Draped in a scarlet gown that seemed to flow like molten lava, Sophia was the epitome of upper-crust elegance. Her necklace, a cascade of diamonds, sparkled as she leaned toward her companions. "What's he doing here?" she murmured, her voice loud enough to carry to nearby tables. "Did someone forget to send him the memo? This is a charity auction, not a Goodwill store." The group chuckled, their laughter light but cutting. A man at the table, his cufflinks catching the light, added, "Maybe he thinks he's here to pick up a discount." Sophia laughed again, tossing her perfectly coiffed hair over her shoulder. "Oh, I'd love to see him try to bid. That would be entertaining." Keanu, standing a few feet away, sipped from his water glass. If he heard the remarks, and there was little doubt that he did, he gave no indication. His expression remained calm, his focus steady as he glanced at the auction catalog. The auctioneer soon took the stage, his voice booming through the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us tonight. Your generosity makes a real difference, and I know this next item will truly captivate you." The item was unveiled, a rare 18th century marble sculpture, its delicate craftsmanship a testament to a time when art was created not for speed, but for eternity. The opening bid was set at $100,000, and the crowd collectively held its breath. Sophia wasted no time. She raised her paddle with practiced ease, her voice ringing out confidently. 100,000. The room murmured its approval. Sophia leaned back in her chair, a satisfied smile playing on her lips. But her moment of triumph was short-lived. From the back of the room, another paddle rose. Keanu Reeves had made his move. The auctioneer announced, his eyes scanning the crowd with newfound interest. The room fell silent, then erupted into whispers. Heads turned, necks craned, all trying to catch a glimpse of the man who had dared to challenge Sophia Langford. Sophia herself froze for a moment, her expression faltering. Then, regaining her composure, she smirked. "Is he serious?" she whispered to her friend. "This isn't a game." Determined to reassert her dominance, she raised her paddle again. "One left." The auctioneer nodded. 150,000. Do I hear 170? Keanu's paddle rose again, as calmly as before. "See him held their mirror? 170, tengo handles, very kong picks. Our ladies tengo mu." And so it began, a duel that electrified the room. With each bid, the stakes climbed higher. $200,000, $250,000, $300,000. The tension was palpable. The room, once filled with the clinking of glasses and murmured conversations, was now silent, save for the auctioneer's voice and the occasional gasp. Sophia's composure began to crack. She was accustomed to winning, to being the center of attention. But tonight, her usual strategies weren't working. She glanced at her friends, seeking reassurance, but found only uneasy expressions. Finally, at $350,000, Sophia hesitated. Her hand hovered over her paddle, her resolve faltering. Across the room, Keanu remained steady, his paddle raised, his expression unreadable. The auctioneer seized the moment. 400,000, he announced, pointing toward Keanu. Do I hear 420? The room held its breath. All eyes were on Sophia. Her pride screamed at her to continue, but her instincts told her she'd already lost. With a forced smile, she lowered her paddle. I concede, she said, her voice barely audible. The gavel came down with a resounding thud. Sold to the gentleman in the back for $400,000. Applause broke out, but Keanu wasn't finished. He walked to the stage, shook the auctioneer's hand, and took the microphone. The crowd leaned forward, eager to hear what he had to say. Thank you, he began, his voice steady but warm. I'm honored to contribute to such an important cause, but I'd like to suggest something. Instead of keeping this sculpture, I'd like to donate it back. Let's auction it again, and every dollar raised will go to the charity. The room erupted. Gasps turned to cheers, and cheers turned to a standing ovation. Keanu waited for the applause to die down, then added, and I'll match whatever amount it sells for. The second round of bidding was even more intense. Inspired by Keanu's generosity, the crowd dug deeper. The sculpture sold again for $300,000, and with Keanu's match, the total soared to $1 million. As the applause thundered through the ballroom, Sophia sat at her table, her earlier arrogance replaced by something unfamiliar: humility. She watched Keanu as he stepped off the stage, his demeanor unchanged, as if he hadn't just transformed the entire evening. Summoning her courage, she approached him. Mr. Reeves, she said, her voice trembling slightly, I want to apologize. I misjudged you, and I let my pride get in the way. What you did tonight, it was extraordinary. Keanu smiled, his kindness evident. We all make mistakes, he said gently. What matters is how we grow from them. Her eyes filled with tears. Thank you, she said softly. You've shown me what true generosity looks like. As the evening drew to a close, the atmosphere in the room had shifted. What began as a display of wealth had become a celebration of humanity. Keanu's actions reminded everyone that true greatness isn't found in material possessions, but in the willingness to give selflessly. And long after the lights dimmed and the guests went home, the memory of that night lingered, a testament to the quiet power of kindness and the man who used it to change the world, one gesture at a time. If this story inspired you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with friends and family so they too can experience the power of kindness. And for more incredible, heartwarming stories that remind us of the good in the world, subscribe to our channel. Stay tuned. More unforgettable stories are coming soon.